I was born before the world learned to lie elegantly. Back then, cruelty came plain, poverty came plain. Men came plain too. If they meant to own the room, they said it with their chin, their boots, or their fists. Later, when I moved among expensive people, I learned they did the same things with cufflinks, smiles, and legal stationery. My name was Virginia Hill, though depending on who was speaking it could sound like desire, suspicion, envy, or warning. I did not come from silk. I came from dirt that clung to your hem and rules that bent against women first. If you were born pretty, they thought you owed them gratitude. If you were born sharp, they hoped to dull you. If you were both, they watched closely. I learned early to let people underestimate me. It saved time. By the time I reached Los Angeles, I knew beauty could open doors. But wit decided whether you left with anything worth carrying. Men with money loved to speak in front of me as though mirrors could not hear. I listened. Listening is how women survive rooms built by men. Then I met Bugsy Siegel. People like to make lightning simple. They say handsome, dangerous, charismatic, violent, ambitious. All true and still incomplete. Men like him burn hottest when they are trying to outrun themselves. He wanted the world to kneel. He wanted elegance. He wanted legitimacy. He wanted the sort of power that arrives with linen napkins and newspaper praise instead of gunmetal. He wanted Las Vegas too. The first time I saw that desert city, it looked less like destiny and more like an argument with sand, dust, heat. Roads pretending to be roads. Buildings rising from stubbornness. But beneath it all was appetite, and appetite builds cities faster than virtue ever has. Men saw a gambling town. I saw an unfinished stage. They called it the Flamingo Las Vegas project as though naming something tropical could make the desert obedient. Money poured into that place like water into cracked earth. More money. Then more. Every man involved claimed confidence in public and panic in private. I knew the look. Jaws too tight, laughing too loudly. Hands checking watches when no one had asked the time. They said I knew where the money went. Maybe I knew where some of it went. Maybe I knew where fear went, because it was everywhere. Maybe men who lost control needed a woman nearby to blame. That happens more than historians admit. I walked construction sites in good shoes. I watched carpenters curse, electricians sweat. Waitresses rehearse smiles they would need later, and executives practice certainty like actors missing lines. The desert wind carried sawdust and lies in equal measure. Bugsy would talk about grandeur, imported taste, fine service, a palace of pleasure. I would look at invoices. Romance is expensive when men try to build it with other people's money. Still, there were nights I believed him. He could make the future sound already paid for. He would point into empty space and describe chandeliers. Fountains, women in satin, tables packed with wealthy fools begging to lose gracefully. And somehow, for a moment, the sand listened. When the place opened, people remember glamour. They forget confusion, half-finished details. Staff scrambling. Expectations larger than reality. That is how many grand openings work. The public sees fireworks. The backstage smells like panic. I dressed beautifully because armor should flatter when possible. Men stared. Women studied. I preferred the women. They usually saw more. Every room in Vegas had the same ingredients then: smoke, money, longing, and someone lying. The trick was learning which one mattered most. Then came the turn no one speaks of honestly. When powerful men become disappointed, sentiment evaporates faster than bourbon. The same people who toasted success begin calculating failure. Names are weighed. Risks are measured. Friendships are priced. I knew the weather had changed before the storm broke. Then Bugsy Siegel was dead. Shot in Beverly Hills and instantly improved by memory. Death is excellent public relations for men like him. The living are left with paperwork and questions. And reporters? And men pretending they had always doubted him. They wanted me weeping, shattered, confessing, decorative. Instead, they got me standing upright. That offended many. Investigators ask questions as though women become foolish in heels. Journalists asked questions as though scandal were a civic duty. Society asked questions it had no right to ask and no appetite to answer. Was I this? Was I that? Did I know? Did I scheme? Did I carry messages? Did I move money? I learned to answer with posture. People hate when a woman refuses to collapse into the version they prepared for her.
And I had lived all three. Sometimes, at night, I would sit alone, remove earrings with the patience age grants you, and think of the girl from Alabama who learned early that softness had a cost. She would not have believed the diamonds, the headlines, the hotels, the men kneeling metaphorically and occasionally, literally. She also would not have believed the loneliness. No one tells girls that becoming unforgettable can be crowded work. People often ask whether I was good or bad. They adore those two little boxes. They save them from thinking, was I good? I paid bills for people who never thanked me publicly. I helped some when cameras were absent. I was kinder to strays than to flatterers. I tipped women better than men expected. I remembered birthdays, funerals, favorite flowers. And who was pretending to be brave? Was I bad? I could be ruthless with fools. I weaponized silence. I let men believe what benefited me. I left before explanations. I enjoyed winning more than grace recommended. I sometimes chose survival over sentiment and called it practical. There now. Put that in your little forms. The truth is, I was adaptive, and adaptation in a woman has always frightened societies that prefer us decorative. There were nights in Las Vegas when the air itself felt expensive, doors opening, brass rails polished, laughter rising like staged music, women entering rooms transformed by powder, nerve, and necessity, men arriving transformed by money, which is a less reliable cosmetic. I loved those nights, not because they were pure, because they were honest about being impure. Vegas never truly pretended to be virtuous. It offered desire under lighting design. There is something almost respectable in a city that tells you up front it means to seduce you. Other places lie longer. I met famous men, yes. Entertainers, politicians, operators, beauties, bruisers. Socialites with cold wrists full of diamonds. Names you'd recognize instantly. But fame never impressed me for long. Fame is merely strangers agreeing to look at you. Character takes longer to verify. Some celebrated men were tiny in private. Some obscure people were magnificent. People ask whether I loved Bugsy. Love is too blunt a word for some connections. I admired parts of him. I feared parts of him. I was amused by parts of him. I was exhausted by parts of him. I understood him perhaps more than he liked. Sometimes that is intimacy. Sometimes it is danger. Usually both.